to go live now as various organizations have gathered for a rally to oppose President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
Before we get started, we want DC to hear us. We want them to know that we are here. So we're going to start off with some chants, and then I'm going to pass it on to Anna Chu. So we're going to start with a very simple one. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Let's get the claps. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey. Louder, 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 louder. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Yeah. We want to keep this energy up the whole time. DC has to hear us. They have to know this matters. We're going to start with another one. This is one of my favorites. Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay. Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay. Let me hear you.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
One more time.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay. Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
One more time.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
Now this side.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
Okay, now this side.
Kavanaugh, no way.
What?
We want equal pay.
Over here now.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal
To
pay.
the left.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
Everybody.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
Right now.
Kavanaugh, no way. We want equal pay.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. Yeah, y'all. Who's ready? Raise your hand if you want to stop Kavanaugh. Raise it really high. Raise it to the sky. I don't see all these hands raised. Maybe you don't want to stop him. By the end of this event, you will want to stop him. Okay, we've got another one. I know many people probably saw some of the news that came out yesterday. We have some lawbreakers in this city. We've got some lawbreakers. So this one goes out for all of the members of this country who are doing the wrong thing. Okay, this one is protect the law, block Kavanaugh. 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 Protect the law, block Kavanaugh.
Protect the law, block Kavanaugh. Protect the law, block Kavanaugh. Protect the law, block Kavanaugh.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 ho, ho.
Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Kavanaugh has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Kavanaugh has got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go.
Make it louder. Beat them, y'all.
Ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey,
Come
hey.
on, y'all.
Ho, ho.
That's right. What?
Kavanaugh has got to go.
Yeah, give it up, y'all. All right. This is so much fun. I hope y'all are ready. Make some noise one more time. This is a program. You need to be loud. If I don't hear screaming, I'm going to assume that y'all don't know what's happening, which is a bad thing. Okay, good. That's good. Okay, so thank you all for screaming with me. We're going to have much more screaming to come. But for right now, I'm going to turn it over to Anna Chu, who is our Vice President of Policy and Strategy. She's going to kick off our amazing lineup of speakers. Thanks, y'all. Keep it loud.
I don't know why I'm following Nia, but I have that distinct torture of following Nia. I'm Anna Chu, Vice President for Strategy and Policy at the National Women's Law Center. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. Now, I know what you are all thinking. This sham process must stop now. The Senate must hear the voice of the people. And together with all of you, with all of our friends here today from AAUW, from AFL-CIO, from AFSCME, from the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, from Alianza, from the Center for American Progress Action, from Coalition of Labor Union Women, Jim Bolin from the Bricklayers, Equal Rights Advocates, Leadership Conference on Human and Civil Rights, National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum, National Domestic Workers Alliance. I'm going to keep going because everyone deserves that recognition. Like Pantsuit Nation, Restaurant Opportunity Center, SCIU, Time's Up, United States of Women, Women Employed, Women Lawyers on Guard Action Network, YWCA USA. Together, all of us, we can stop this. Yes. So I have the distinct pleasure now of introducing my general in this fight. My boss and my friend, the CEO and president of National Women's Law Center, Fatima Goss-Graves. Give it up.
Look at this group. I'm Fatima Goss-Graves. I'm president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center. You know, 2 months ago, I stood actually right here in front of the Supreme Court and I said, we will win this fight. And there were a few doubters at the time, and I said it again, that no, we will win this fight, because in the back of my head I said, I knew that women would rise for this moment, and that's what we're showing you today here. And it's in part because we know that working women have a lot on the line with the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. It's about whether or not they will finally, 55 years after the Equal Pay Act was passed, be paid fairly. Whether or not we'll finally see a change that makes a difference in people's lives for the pay gap. Whether or not Latinas will continue to lose over $1 million in a lifetime to unfair pay. Whether or not women workers will continue to be 2/3 of those who work in low-wage jobs, but 5% of CEOs. See, it's the Supreme Court that makes a difference in terms of whether our laws that protect discrimination, whether our labor laws actually make a difference in people's lives. It's the Supreme Court that makes a difference in terms of whether it is again and again that the powerful win or whether working people actually have a shot. And we deserve a Supreme Court that will protect all of our lives. We deserve a Supreme Court that will protect all of our rights, and Brett Kavanaugh is just not that person. Again and again, he has voted against working people. Again and again, he has contorted the law to find against working people and find in favor of powerful corporations. He even found that people working for Congress shouldn't be able to go to court at all in order to challenge the discrimination and harassment that they faced. That would be enough for me. But with the news that we got yesterday, we have to just stop this process entirely. I can no longer pretend that any of this is okay. It was never okay for President Trump to campaign that he was going to nominate someone who would automatically overturn Roe versus Roe. It was never okay for him to choose his nominees from a list that was created by the most extreme of groups. That's right. It was never okay to hide millions of pages in Brett Kavanaugh's record and say, just trust us, you don't need to see it. And it is certainly not okay to continue to hold hearings as if nothing is happening in the world when we yesterday saw the news about a president who's now been implicated in a criminal conspiracy. My friends, I am counting on all of you to rise, to say stop this sham process, and to say stop this nominee. So I am really, really lucky right now, though, because I get the pleasure of introducing two different people. First, I am lucky enough to introduce Senator Dick Blumenthal, who is here and joining us. And if you saw what he had to say about the process that's in place and about Brett Kavanaugh, I know you guys are going to want to hear from him. So, Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving us the inspiration to carry on this fight. And it's a fight, literally, about the future of our rule of law in this country. It's more than just the pillars and the robes. It's about the effect of this nomination on real people and real lives. It will probably decide whether or not women have the right to decide whether and when they will have children, whether people have the opportunity to marry the one they love, whether we breathe clean air and drink clean water, whether consumers have rights against monopolistic companies that sell them defective products or try to cheat them, whether the President of the United States is above the rule of law, whether the President of the United States is above the rule of law. And if anybody needed an argument for opposing this nomination and saying we should postpone this hearing, all they have to do is go to this document. This document is the indictment and plea agreement of Michael Cohen, entered yesterday in the United States District Court in Manhattan. And it says that the President of the United States, as an unindicted co-conspirator, was implicated in some of the most serious criminal wrongdoing ever charged against any politician, that he, in effect, paid for the silence of two people during that campaign and was part of a conspiracy to violate the campaign finance laws, to commit fraud on the people of the United States of America in his own election. His own election. That's the president who has nominated Brett Kavanaugh. If Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed, if his nomination is rushed through, it will be forever a stain on this court. It will taint every decision of the Supreme Court, and that's why we must fight. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! We must fight, and the first fight is to postpone this nomination hearing. We need to postpone this nomination hearing because the Republican leadership has said we're going to conceal the essential documents from you. And when I say the essential documents, I don't mean one or two. I mean literally tens of thousands of pages of documents, breaking the norms, shattering the rules, violating, very possibly, the Presidential Records Act, in saying to the American people, we will keep secret these documents involving key parts of Brett Kavanaugh's professional career, his time in the White House. What are they hiding? What are they hiding? We won't let them push through this nomination while they are concealing these documents. And we won't let them push through a nomination that will put at risk women's reproductive rights across this country. Women deserve their rights unencumbered, unfettered, the kinds of constraints they would put on those rights, piece by piece, chip by chip, gnawing away those essential rights, are obscene and needs to stop. We will not let them chip away at workers' rights or environmental rights or consumer rights or working people's rights. We need to stand strong. We will stand strong. With your help, we're going to continue this fight. We're going to win this fight. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving us the inspiration we need and want to keep going forward. Thank you, everyone. We are going to be there in this fight together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. I now have the pleasure to introduce a woman who knows deeply what a single vote can do to a working individual's life. I had the pleasure of first meeting Lilly Ledbetter almost 10 years ago when we were working to pass the law that bears her name, that restored our equal pay laws. And she has continued to fight for not only her rights, but the rights of all of us. Welcome, Lilly Ledbetter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and I don't know about you, but I'm fired up. I'm fired up, and Brett Kavanaugh's got to go. I am Lilly Ledbetter, and I'm here because I know personally exactly how deep it can cut into a family, into an individual, when those 5-4 says no. This is not right, and I'm here to say that Brett Kavanaugh is not the one we need in the Supreme Court. When he gets there, he's 53 years old, he'll be there for life. For about 20 years, I had what I thought was a pretty good job at Goodyear Tire and Rubber in Gadsden, Alabama. And then I learned, when someone gave me an anonymous tip, how much less I was making than the white men working doing the same exact job as I had. It was a drastic difference. And what affected me, it was my overtime and my retirements, and today my Social Security. I spring into action. I filed a charge with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and I took Goodyear to court. The jury recognized that what had happened to me wasn't right. They awarded me $3.5 million, but Goodyear appealed, and we came to the Supreme Court. Goodyear had paid me less simply because I was a woman. But when we got to the Supreme Court in that 5-4 decision, the court ruled against me. They said I should have filed that charge when I got that first discriminatory paycheck. I didn't know when I got that first check because I worked for one of those corporations that said if you discuss your pay, you won't have a job. So I never could find out. I couldn't find out, and I needed to know. And though Congress later passed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act to make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to you or your family. I never saw a dime from that verdict, though, and never will. I never gained anything, but I gained something in the end. When that verdict came out, I couldn't let it go because it was no longer about me. It was about you and your families in this great nation. I still think about, especially at the first of the month, how different my life could be today if I had gotten the equal pay that I had legally earned and was entitled to under the law. How different my retirements would be and how much easier a family life could be. That's why I talk to women all over the country about equal pay, because it's not only today, it's tomorrow and the rest of your life. It means if you can support your family today, send them on for good education, and have a good retirement that you can live independently for the rest of your life. And that's why I'm here to say how important this Supreme Court nomination is to working people and why Judge Kavanaugh cannot be allowed to take the seat of the Supreme Court. Judge Kavanaugh has made it clear in his court rulings that he stands on the side of employers like Goodyear, not on the side of workers. In one case, he agreed with the agreement that workers who are protected by civil rights laws are less desirable employees. This should scare all of us. In another case, he argued that black women who alleged race discrimination and pay discrimination should not be able to move forward with their claims. That woman has been paid $22,000 less than two white men doing the exact same job. You don't have to take it from me, but the biggest law firms who represent corporate employers when they are sued for discrimination and harassment have said it themselves. Judge Kavanaugh usually rules against working people in these cases. With a record like that, I have no doubt that Judge Kavanaugh would have voted against the Ledbetter case. It wouldn't have made a difference in my case in the Supreme Court. So I'm here today to tell the senators that a vote for Judge Kavanaugh is a vote against equal pay. A vote for Kavanaugh is against Me Too and Time's Up. A vote for Kavanaugh is a vote against every working man and woman in our country. Enough is enough, senators. It's time to stand with working men and women. Vote no on Judge Kavanaugh. Thank you. I have to say a special shout out for you unions here. I have a great respect for you, so thank you too for coming out and supporting us. Thank you.
So I know, it's starting to sprinkle, but is the rain going to stop us today? Oh. Is the rain going to stop us today? Awesome. I'm proud to welcome a fierce fighter for workers' rights. Let me introduce Elisa McBride, Secretary Treasurer of AFSCME.
All right. Good afternoon to some tough women and men. And we need to be tough. I'm glad you're out here. A little rain isn't going to stop our toughness. And I'm proud to be representing the 1.6 million members of AFSCME. Most of us women, all of us dedicated to bringing community services for the public good. And we know the stakes when it comes to a Supreme Court seat, because just 2 months ago, this court overturned 40 years of precedent in the Janus case. And that's right. And they made it harder for public sector workers to join together and negotiate a fair return on our work. And the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh is going to make a pro-corporate court even more extreme. And all you got to do is look at his record. When Dawn Brancheau, a woman trainer at SeaWorld, was killed by a 12,000-pound whale, and her company, SeaWorld, was cited, Brett Kavanaugh said that citation was paternalistic. When a different company created a whole separate corporation just to avoid sitting at the table and negotiating with their own workers, Brett Kavanaugh endorsed their scheme. So that's who he is. And we do not need another justice who's going to be a rubber stamp for the super rich and who's going to rig the rules even further against working folks. So that's why AFSCME's here. AFSCME members are social workers and sanitation workers and school employees. And we believe in an America that believes in rights and freedom at work and a voice on the job. And that's why we are going to be in the streets and on the phones to our senators to oppose the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. Let me hear you if you're with us on that. So I'm going to bring up an AFSCME sister. This is a woman who serves us in our town as an emergency medical technician. She's an amazing leader and organizer from AFSCME District Council 20, Lindsay Washington.
Hey guys. Thank you for having me. My name is Lindsay Washington. I'm an emergency medical technician right here in DC. I'm standing with you here today to call in the Senate to stand up for working people and reject Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court. Yes. Every day, I'm out on the streets keeping the people of this city safe. I'm going to put my hood up too, sorry. It's difficult and dangerous, but I'm proud, very proud of the work that I do. And I deserve a Supreme Court who stands up for people like me. But Brett Kavanaugh doesn't fight for working people. He stands with big corporations, billionaires, special interests, and against people like you and me. He's ruled against safe workplaces and worker protections. He puts the corporate bottom line above ordinary people every time. My coworkers and I recently voted to stand together in a union. We've just agreed with management on our first contract. We're speaking up not just for ourselves, but for the people we serve in this city every day. But with Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, the attacks against working people will continue and get worse. Kavanaugh was handpicked by billionaires and corporate special interests because he rules against working people. We deserve justices who will protect our rights, who will be on our side when the boss doesn't care about our safety, who will stand up with women and people of color, and everyone who needs a voice on the job, who will stand with the people instead of the powerful few. Brett Kavanaugh fails every one of these tests. So let's do what working people do best and stand together and keep him off the Supreme Court.
All right. Thank you so much to AFSCME. So the next person I'm proud to introduce today has been, she's really been leading this whole damn fight. So Vanita Gupta, President and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights.
Hey everyone, wow, it's great to be here. Look at you, you guys are standing out in the rain. If you guys can do this, we can do anything. What do we want? We want justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. We know, women know, that everything is at stake for our freedom right now. Do we know that? Yes. Fatima Gosgraves and the National Women's Law Center and all of the groups that are represented here today are fighting for the soul of our country, because that is exactly what is at stake. Let's just take a moment to reflect on what happened yesterday. We have a president who is essentially an unindicted co-conspirator who has nominated somebody who believes that a president should not be investigated and should not be ever indicted, no matter what the criminal wrongdoing is. Do we know why Trump nominated this guy? We know exactly why he nominated him. There is no secret about what's going on here. And the Senate simply should not confirm a man who believes that in virtually no accountability for a president out of control. And so this hearing needs to be halted and stopped. But this hearing needs to be halted and stopped because we know that for everyone, for our communities, for all of the progress for which people have lived, died, and lost their lives is at stake right now. And we are not going to let it happen. Are we going to let it happen? No! Do we accept a Supreme Court nominee who's going to let employers exploit and endanger women? No! Do we accept a nominee who is going to turn his back on harassment, victims of harassment and violence? No! Do we accept a nominee who's going to stop women from organizing to improve our work conditions? No! Do we accept a nominee who's going to deny women equal pay and equal rights? No! Make no mistake, Kavanaugh is a threat to everything we believe in and everything that we stand for and everything that this country deserves to be. And so I'm here and happy to be amongst all of you. I thank you for everything you're doing. We need to keep it going. We need to get everyone in our communities and families to call their senators because everything is at stake. Onward.
So it might be a little bit more than a sprinkle. But you know what? Too damn much is on the line. Yeah. So I'm here to introduce an elegant lady, a fierce leader, and also one of our board members. Liz Schuler, Secretary-Treasurer of AFL-CIO.
It's the labor movement in the house. All right. Thank you. I'm so proud to be here on behalf of the AFL-CIO, 12.5 million working men and women, 6.5 million women in the labor movement, standing together with this powerful crowd, and all of our allies in the women's movement. We're so excited to be here. And I want to say a special shout out to Jim Bolin, the president of the Bricklayers Union, who is here today. And we're here to speak out. We're speaking out as women. We're speaking out as workers against Brett Kavanaugh. And we know he is attacking us on all sides. He's against equal pay. You've heard it from Lily herself. He's ruled against harassment because protections for workers are too burdensome for corporations. Boo! He has ruled that undocumented workers should not have protections on the job. He thinks that he's smarter than OSHA, that he knows more about safety. He thinks he's ruled actually against workers trying to organize a union. And especially, most recently, at a Trump-owned hotel was one of his cases. So the facts show, we do still believe in facts, correct? The facts show, his record shows that he will hurt women and working people and choose corporations over working people every time. And he is out of step with America. Is he out of step with the American working people? And all of us here, absolutely. Because people across the country are speaking out. You're here speaking out. People are rising up for equality, for justice, for corporate accountability, for unions. Yeah, and we're fighting back because we demand better. We demand better. We demand better. That's right. We demand a Supreme Court that protects working people. It's not too much to ask. So Kavanaugh is not that nominee. We know it. We're going to fight it. Stop Kavanaugh. Thank you.
Oh, it stopped. Yay, we're stopping. So the next speaker is Elise Bryant, president of the Coalition of Labor Union Women. And I just got to say, I don't know if I'd be here today if not for the help of Clue with this. So thank you, Elise.
Come on, sisters. I got all my sisters with me. Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
All right. As I say to all the folks I talk to, my sisters and my brothers, I am a union woman, just as strong as I can be. I do not like the bosses, and the bosses don't like me. Hey. All righty. The founding mothers of Clue in 1974 came together and they said, we're not coming here to swap recipes. We come here because a woman's place is in our union. In Clue, over the years we built up, we say a woman's place is in the Supreme Court. A woman's place is in the House of Representatives. A woman's place is in the Senate. A woman's place is in the White House, and we are coming for it. We are coming for it. We know the union is a woman's best line of defense against unequal pay and protections on the job. And yet Kavanaugh has sided against workers and agencies charged with protecting them over and over again. He's got to go. He ain't even coming in, and he's got to go. This is my sister Myra. I was telling we were talking about the rain, and Myra said, hey, I'm used to this. She's a letter carrier, National Association of Letter Carriers. And the other side of me is my sister, Laura Pena, who you're going to hear from. Laura is a 28-year journey person with the union, with the UA, which stands for the United Association, the Union of Plumbers, Fitters, Welders, and Service Techs. And she's going to speak on why we need to let this thing stop now. Basta! Enough!
Thank you. I'm sorry my angels are crying today. I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak today against the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, which would be alarming. Sorry.
Okay, sweetie.
Which would be an alarming choice for me and other working women. To be quite honest, in my research and the internet, I discovered that Kavanaugh is, as we say in my union circle, another member of the part of the Go Along to Get Along gang.
That's right.
Another yes man who wants nothing more to take away what we have fought for. This is disturbing to me on many levels. He will be able to continue to bring his own ideology and self-fulfillment that can creep into the decisions making as he has done time and time again. He is a proponent of the executive branch, which makes him very appealing to our current leader of such and has a record of undermining workers' working people's rights and safety. Kavanaugh has fed the ego of Trump's desires and in support the 1%ers of the Republican Party, in which want nothing more to make the United States become a right-to-work country. Every day I go to work and I put on my red bandana, and I remember what it stands for. It stands for the blood of the brothers and the sisters that have come before me.
Yes. Yes.
For if not for them, I would not have the right to vote. I would not have a safe workplace. I would not be able to be a union steam fitter. I would not be able to provide for my family in the manner that I do. I would not be able to have my pension, my health insurance, and a platform in which protects me from the overreach of the employers that I work for while building the systems of this great country. So I am asking you to make an effort to help me and my sisters defend our rights, as well as those rights of our children and possibly even our grandchildren. Due to this is a lifetime appointment. And contact your senators and ask them to please do not support the Kavanaugh vote. Oppose this, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, my notes are all wrong.
Yeah, thank you. Fired up. Ready to go. Fired up. Ready to go. Fired up. Ready to go. I think our next speaker is Antonia Pena. Is she ready? Okay, and then she'll be followed by Catherine Bean.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Antonia Peña, soy trabajadora del hogar y organizadora con la Alianza Nacional de Trabajadoras del Hogar. Estoy aquí representando a las 2,5 millones de niñeras, trabajadoras de limpieza y cuidadoras en los Estados Unidos.
Good afternoon. My name is Antonia Peña. I am a domestic worker and organizer with the National Domestic Workers Alliance. I am here representing the 2.5 million nannies, house cleaners, and care workers around the United States.
Somos trabajadoras, la mayoría inmigrantes y mujeres de color, que cuidamos los seres queridos en los hogares de otras personas. Nuestro trabajo es clave para la economía y para nuestra democracia. Sin embargo, hemos tenido que luchar por el derecho de trabajar con seguridad y dignidad.
We are working women, mostly immigrants and women of color, who care for other people's loved ones and homes. Our work is critical to the economy and our democracy, but domestic workers have had to fight for the right to work with safety and dignity.
Estamos aquí porque sabemos que Brett Kavanaugh, el juez nominado por Trump para la Corte Suprema, sería un desastre para las trabajadoras. Los trabajadores para favorecer a los empleadores poderosos y descartando a los trabajadores reclamando discriminación y acoso y apoyan a la exclusión de ciertos trabajadores de protecciones legales.
We are here today because we know that Brett Kavanaugh, Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, would be a disaster for working women. Kavanaugh has a long record of ignoring workers' rights and safety to side with powerful employers. He's ruled against workers fighting discrimination and harassment and supports the exclusion of some workers from legal protections.
En nuestra industria, el acoso sexual en el trabajo no es la excepción, es la regla, junto con bajos salarios y malas condiciones. Los trabajadoras del hogar enfrentan el acoso sexual y con muchas pocas protecciones legales. El tribunal más alto de la nación debe proteger a todas las trabajadoras contra el abuso.
In our industry, sexual harassment on the job is not the exception, it's the rule. Along with low wages and poor working conditions, domestic workers have to put up with sexual harassment with very few laws to protect us. The highest court of the land should protect all workers against abuse.
Además, Kavanaugh no cree que nuestras leyes laborales protegen a los trabajadores indocumentados. Aunque esto no es cierto, él haría más difícil las vidas de las mujeres como yo, que ya somos vulnerables al abuso y a la explotación.
Kavanaugh also doesn't believe our labor laws protect undocumented workers. Although that's not true. He would only make it harder for women like me, who are already vulnerable to extreme abuse and exploitation.
Cuando llegué a este país, trabajé como niñera para un diplomático y me encontré con una situación de explotación laboral sin saber a dónde recurrir. Y con el miedo de perder mi visa, reclamaba. Afortunadamente conocí a otras trabajadoras y organizadoras y aprendí que todos los y las trabajadoras en este país, sin importar su estatus migratorio, tienen ciertos derechos básicos. Yo reclamé mis derechos y ahora ayudo a mujeres en situaciones similares.
When I first came to this country, I worked as a nanny for a diplomat and faced labor exploitation. But I didn't know where to seek help, and I was afraid of losing my visa if I spoke out. Luckily, I met other workers and organizers and learned that all workers in this country, regardless of your immigration status, have certain basic rights.
Cuando las personas te dicen quiénes son, hay que creerlos. Con su récord, él nos ha dicho una y otra vez que es una amenaza para todas las mujeres. Pero estamos unidas y somos poderosas y juntas pararemos a back.
I stood up for my rights, and now I help other women in similar situations. When people tell you who they are, believe them. With his past record, he has told us time again that he is a threat to women everywhere. But we are united and powerful, and together we will stop Kavanaugh.
And remember, sí se puede, sí se puede. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. And now coming Katharina Bean.
Louder. Puede, sí se puede, sí se puede. Yes. We're going to have people move in a little bit because we're spreading out. But don't you know you won't get rained on if you're closer. If you come closer, you won't get rained on. So come a little bit closer. We've got some amazing people next in our lineup. I'm excited to turn over to my good friend Catherine Bean from the YWCA.
YWCA is so proud to stand here today in the rain, in the fight with our sisters and allies. At YWCA, we are on a mission to eliminate racism and empower women. And many of you here today are on that mission with us. And you know, just like we do, that Judge Kavanaugh is not the right choice for women. We are living in a moment that absolutely requires a justice who understands what life's like in the real world, who understands that blocking cases about sexual harassment, discrimination, and equal pay means women can't get justice, and that our LGBTQ sisters and brothers and women of color can't get justice. The women of YWCA are on the ground in nearly every state, working with millions of women and girls from diverse communities. And I'm so proud to be joined here today by one of our incredible leaders. All the way from Birmingham, Alabama, it's my pleasure to introduce the CEO of YWCA Central Alabama, Yolanda Sullivan.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I am so pleased to be here today to represent the YWCA Central Alabama and indeed the entire YWCA network. I traveled here from Birmingham because this nomination fight is critical to me and to the women that the YWCA serves. These are the women, girls, people of color, immigrants, refugees, survivors of violence and abuse, LGBTQ community and others the YWCA serves every day, providing housing, childcare, safety services, job training, anti-bullying training, and many, many more. When I think about all the women we serve who have had the Me Too moments and all the women like me who experience the compounding challenge of race and gender, Judge Kavanaugh's record on discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace tell me that his presence on the Supreme Court would hurt rather than help real people. What is especially troubling to me is the mindset that Judge Kavanaugh revealed in the case of Miller versus Clinton. Now, there are a lot of details in that case, but here is the important part. He argued in his dissent that those of us who are protected by civil rights laws are less desirable employees. Now, I've worked for many years in human resources as CEO of YWCA Central Alabama and in the corporate sector. Here's what I know. The people who are protected by civil rights laws are you and me. You and me. They are women, people over 40 with different religious beliefs. They are black and brown and Asian and Native American. They are LGBTQ sisters and brothers. I am not a less desirable employee. Are you a less desirable employee? Judge Kavanaugh's record tells me all the way down in Alabama that he will rule in favor of big business instead of keeping workers safe and free from discrimination in the workplace. And don't even get me started on equal pay. My goodness, 80 cents on the dollar for women in Alabama, 63 cents for black women like me, and even lower for my other sisters of color. Women can't afford to wait any longer for equal pay. The women in our shelters trying to rebuild lives shattered by domestic violence and sexual abuse cannot wait. We at the YWCA know that sexual harassment is about power and control. And we know that the courts are often the last opportunity for equity and justice for the women we represent, especially for the 1 in 4 who will experience domestic and sexual violence in their lifetimes. Judge Kavanaugh's record tells me that he is no friend to women seeking justice for pay discrimination. We need a Supreme Court justice who understands that women's lives are complex, that our lives unfold at the intersection of race, gender, and for many of us, gender-based violence. We aren't less desirable employees. No. We are the backbone of this nation. We need a jurist on the bench who will preserve the laws that level the playing field and ensure equity. Judge Kavanaugh is not that person. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine and Yolanda. Thank you for staying with us. Stay with us a bit longer. We just have a few more speakers. Senator Gillibrand is on her way as we speak, so keep the energy up. But then next, I'm happy to introduce a friend of mine in the movement, Alvina Ye, Executive Director for the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance. Yeah. Thank you, Anna. As Anna said, my name is Alvina Ye. I'm the Executive Director of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance. We are the first and only national organization that is dedicated to building power for working class folks of Asian American and Pacific Islander descent.
So today we are standing here on the steps of the Supreme Court, where just a few months ago, the Supreme Court ruled against working people in the Janus versus AFSCME case, validated voter suppression tactics, and even upholded the cruel Muslim ban. This is not the America that we are fighting for, and this is not the America that we want to live in. We are now at a pivotal moment in history because we cannot let Trump reshape the highest level of courts in our country with a pick like Brett Kavanaugh. An extreme judge whose record is alarming not only for workers, but for women, for immigrants, and for so much more. Working women, like all of us here today, let's give it up. Working women will stop Kavanaugh because we know how high the stakes are, and we were not going to lose this fight. So I am proud to introduce a friend and a badass woman warrior. Oh, okay. Let me switch it up. Actually still a badass woman warrior, Senator Gillibrand.
Hey, everybody. So, it was quite a day yesterday. Well, we all know that our president was implicated in a federal crime yesterday. And it is a good reminder for all of us that nobody in this country, nobody, including the president, is above the law. It is one of the most basic principles of our democracy. And it reminds us about why Judge Kavanaugh is such a horrible nominee for the Supreme Court. He believes that the president is above the law. He believes that he cannot be investigated for any crime while president of the United States. So he is a dangerous nominee for many, many reasons. But I want to talk about why we're all here. One of the most horrible reasons why he's such a bad choice is because he doesn't believe in women's rights. He doesn't believe in our rights to reproductive freedom. He doesn't believe in our rights to be able to make fundamental decisions about our bodies. He doesn't believe that we should have that decision-making authority. In fact, he wants politicians in Washington to make decisions. He wants your boss to make decisions about whether you should have access to contraception. He believes in the free speech rights of your boss. He believes in the free speech rights of corporate America. He doesn't believe in your free speech rights. He doesn't believe that you should have the right of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. He does not believe that you should be able to make the most personal, important decision of your life based on your values, based on your hopes, your dreams, your future. He wants to make that decision for you, and in fact, he wants to criminalize women's decisions. He wants to criminalize women's decisions and make sure that states who have already made abortion illegal can continue to do so. He wants to make sure the next decision that comes to the Supreme Court, that he is a voice on that court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Let's take the president at his word. He said he intends to appoint someone who will overturn Roe v. Wade, and that's exactly who Judge Kavanaugh is. So we have to fight against him. We also have to recognize that we are in a moment where women's voices really do matter. Time's up, Me Too. It's about women's voices. It's about the ability of women and men to tell their stories, to be heard, to have some measure of justice, some measure of accountability, to be believed, to have these cases be investigated. That's what this moment's about. And Judge Kavanaugh is such a horrible choice because he does not value women. This president does not value women. They do not believe that you should have the ability to have the basic human right and human dignity to decide what happens to you and when. It is outrageous that we are having to look at this judge and his record without all the documents, without all his work product, without everything that he's done, so we know exactly what his views are on all issues. But make no mistake, we know what his view is on women. We know what his view is on choice. We know what his view is on whether women should be valued in society. Yes. So we have to fight. Yeah. This is a moment when all of us have to do whatever we can to fight back as strongly, as clearly, as loudly as we possibly can. It has to be a 50-state strategy. It has to be reaching out to everyone you know and love, no matter where they live. And we have to ask each one of our friends and family members and loved ones to speak out from their heart with conviction about what they think is right for America, about their values for this country, and demand that their senators vote no. We need our senators to stand up and vote no against this judge, because he is going to harm this country and he is going to harm women. So this is a fight. It's a fight of our lives. It's about our lives. I see a lot of women of color in this audience. It's truly about our lives, because if you look at the maternal mortality rate of women of color in this country, in my city of New York City, where you are 12 times more likely to die in childbirth if you are African American, that is an outrage. In this country, 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth because of institutional racism in this country. It really is about your life. It is about your future, and it is about your families. So fight back, be heard, and don't give up. We need every vote to count. Thank you so much.
I now want to introduce to the stage Apollo San Diego member and home care worker Nicanora Montenegro.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a republic that has been built through the sacrifices of the lives and bloods of our forefathers, a republic that has been built on democratic value, on the core value of governance, that this is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's the reason why I'm here. I flew from San Diego to Washington, D.C., because I am a people. And I deserve my voice to be heard. One nation under God, indivisible. This nation is supposed to be united, undivided, but a person like Brett Kavanaugh is dividing all of us, dividing the poor, favoring the rich, dividing the workers, favoring the employers, dividing us by favoring corporate interest than labor rights. With liberty and justice for all. How can there be liberty if we cannot stand up and put our voice there? And how can there be justice if a person like Brett Kavanaugh is tilting the scale of liberty in favor of the rich and the wealthy and the few? Kavanaugh is anti-women, anti-immigrant, anti-labor, anti-workers, anti-union, and I, Nicanora Montenegro, is a woman. I am an immigrant. I am a worker. And I am a union leader. I am a member of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, AFL-CIO. I am a very proud member of the United Domestic Workers of America, APSME Local 3930. And I work as an in-home support service provider. I take care of the disabled members of our community. An industry, a work that is plagued with low wages and almost no benefits at all. But I always say, I cannot imagine myself as a home care worker provider without my union. Because my union have lifted us, have lifted women of colors, have lifted working women so that we can rise up and have dignity and respect. Our union, through collective bargaining, is able to at least give us better wages and a little bit more of benefits. But that is not all. You know what my union have done? My union have lifted all of us by leaps and bounds by ensuring that we have a seat at the table, not as a bystander, not as an observer, but somebody who has a voice and can speak up and part of that decision making. Because we are a people. Our union had provided a voice for the voiceless, had provided a face for the faceless. And our union is the embodiment of what we say and putting into practice that this is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that Brett Kavanaugh is a grave threat to women's rights, grave threat to labor's rights, grave threat to immigrants' rights, grave threat to workers' rights, grave threats to our union. Therefore, for and in behalf of colored women, for and in behalf of women rising up and ready to fight, for and in behalf of workers, I vehemently oppose. And we, women, unitedly disagree with the appointment of Brett Kavanaugh to a lifetime seat in the highest judiciary system in our land. If that will happen, where is America going? If that will happen, what is America now? The sky is even crying. Yes, the sky is crying for the American people. If we are not heard, if we are not listened to, if our voices are stepped down, then who is America? Thank you.
Okay, Nicanora, oh my God. Let's give her one more try. Come on now. Yeah. No Kavanaugh. No Kavanaugh. No Kavanaugh. Damn. I have shivers. When are you running again? So next, I want to welcome my sister and dear friend, like a close ally of the National Women's Law Center, Deborah Vagans, Senior Vice President for AUW.
Man, I have to follow that? Oh, okay, all right. So thank you for standing in the rain. Can you stand some more? Yes? Let's hear for the women that came before us. I mean today, but always. Come on. Woo! All right, I'm Deborah Vagans, Senior Vice President of the American Association of University Women. We are a nonpartisan organization that has been advancing equity for women and girls for over 130 years. And we've just started. Our 170,000 members and supporters are in every state and U.S. territory, and we are on the front lines fighting for equal pay, workplace fairness, and gender equity everywhere. We know, you have heard today, how much the Supreme Court matters in our lives. And any nominee confirmed to the Supreme Court for a lifetime appointment will have a say in our lives for decades to come. Judge Kavanaugh's record, the one we have so far, indicates that he has done grave harm to women by upending employment rights and labor rights, as you have heard. He has shown that he won't stand up for the economic security of women and girls, and we won't stand for that. We cannot support a nominee who will undermine our most critical and basic rights to autonomy and economic self-sufficiency. AUW members are jamming the phone lines in 50 states and marching this Sunday with all of you on Women's Equality Day to unite for justice, and we need your voice. You know how much this matters. Labor and employment laws provide basic protections for pay discrimination, for sexual harassment, and other forms of workplace discrimination. They ensure that we have rights like minimum wage, overtime, family medical leave. And in ruling on many of these laws, this Supreme Court has sided with the powerful against working people, against those fighting for the right to receive equal pay, to stop sexual harassment and retaliation when they go to work, to organize for better working conditions, or just to have the right to their day in court. So you know many of the names. The court has ruled against hardworking women like our Lily Ledbetter, Betty Dukes, Mayetta Vance, and many more workers, and many more faceless workers and nameless workers seeking only to vindicate their basic rights. Judge Kavanaugh is not the right choice to change this trend. His opinions paint a bleak landscape for workers' rights, including for low-wage workers, workers of colors, and immigrant workers. But it's important for us to get out there that this is not a partisan issue. Over 70% of women polled across the political spectrum oppose this choice. We are not alone. But we have to make sure the Senate knows that. Let's be clear. The law has real-world implications for real people. Any new nominee to this court must understand that. Will we continue to stand by when victims of discrimination suffer in silence at work? No! Will we continue to stand by when workers bring home less money than they have rightfully earned just because they are women? No! Will we continue to stand by the doors of justice being closed to those who wield less power? No! We are standing here to say no. Say it, no! And AUW is proud to stand here with our sisters to ask that we not stand for it anymore. Please, stand up, speak out, and ask your senators to stand with you in opposing Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And now bringing us to a wrap is our dear friend, close partner, Vamala Vongsavan, Policy Director for the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum.
Hey everyone, are you having a good afternoon? My name is Vamala Pongswan. I'm the Policy Director at the National Asian Pacific American Forum, or NAPAWF. We are the only national AAPI organization advocating on behalf of women and girls in the United States with a reproductive justice framework at the intersections of economic justice, immigrant justice, and reproductive health and rights. Our mission is to build power for AAPI women and girls to have full agency over our bodies, our families, and our communities. We work to create policy changes and organize at the local, state, and federal levels. The next Supreme Court justice will cast votes and decisions that will shape the lives of women of color and the movement for reproductive justice for decades. And the stakes couldn't be higher for AAPI women, for our lives, our bodies, our families, and our communities, which are literally on the line. That's why NAPAWF is mobilizing AAPI women from across the country and bringing them here to DC today and tomorrow to send a clear message to the Senate and beyond that we will fight to stop Kavanaugh. AAPI women will be seen, we will be heard, and we will be fierce. Each and every day, AAPI women have to fight for our own visibility, especially for our fight for economic justice. Legal protections for workers and their rights to collectively bargain for fair and humane wages and working conditions are vital to achieving economic justice for AAPI women and ensuring that they can support their children and families. While the public conversation of sexual harassment in the workplace has increased with the emergence of the Me Too movement, the voices and experiences of women working in low-wage sectors, many whom are immigrants, limited English proficient, and/or women of color, have too often been excluded from the conversation. Yet due to numerous factors such as the nature of their work and compensation, their immigration status, language barriers, and lack of knowledge of employment protections, these women are the most vulnerable to workplace sexual harassment. Moreover, for many of the same reasons that these women are more vulnerable to harassment, they also face numerous barriers enforcing their rights and obtaining assistance to address the harm that they have suffered. Many API women are included among these women. Although API women make up just 3% of the overall workforce, they comprise disproportionately high share of the low-wage workforce at about 5%. Immigrant API women employed in low-wage and socially isolated industries such as nannies, caretakers, and other types of domestic workers are especially vulnerable to harassment. API women also face a gender pay gap, with API women in some ethnic groups earning as low as 44 to 55 cents to the white man's dollar, and almost 12% of API women live in poverty. 6% of domestic workers in the U.S. are Asian. Many are foreign-born or non-citizens. A survey of live-in domestic workers reported widespread harassment and sexual abuse by employers. Women working in the restaurant industry, including thousands of API women, are also at greater risk of harassment. While 7% of American working women work in the restaurant industry, 37% of all sexual harassment claims reported to the EEOC are from restaurant workers. The Trump administration has relentlessly attacked the rights of women, immigrants, children, people of color, Muslims, the LGBTQ community, just to name a few. And in these times, it is absolutely vital that our courts uphold the Constitution and protect us from these abuses of power. We need a fair-minded justice who will not trample on our most basic and fundamental rights or let personal bias compromise their judgment. NAPOF will fight for a truly just Supreme Court because so much is at stake for our communities. And we will fight to stop Kavanaugh. Thank you.
So before we close out with my powerful colleague, Nia Evans, I just want to thank all of you for being here through the rain. But I know why you were here today. You were here today because you know what's at stake. You know that it's women's lives. You know that it's our futures. You know that it is our very democracy that is on the line with this nomination. So thank you for coming. You tell people you stood here in the rain for hours to stop Kavanaugh and to stop this process.
Y'all such troopers. Let's give it up for our amazing speakers. Give it up. Make it loud. Okay, y'all. So this is literally just the beginning. We know that the hearings are going to start the first week of September. You heard from senators today. We need to be calling every office. We need to be calling from every single state. They need to hear from us because we will not have this. Will we have this? No. Will we have this? No. Will we have this? No. That's right, we won't. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. I have a handy-dandy number for you. So everyone, I want you to take out your phone. We're going to call. We're going to get our senators' numbers in our phones. I want to see phones in the air. The number that you should call to call your senator, I want everyone to call 1-844. All right, I'll give y'all time. Get those phones out. 1-844-387-6952. And I want every senator to hear from you. I want every single office. Everyone in this crowd should make a commitment today that they are going to make their voice heard on this because this is our lives. These are our rights. And now is not the moment to be quiet. So let's close with one last chant, and then we're going to dance it out. We're going to dance out. So we're going to do our chant, hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. And I want those people in that building over there to hear us. Okay? Ready? Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Ho, 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 ho. Dance, y'all. Hey, 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 hey. Ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, 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 hey. Ho, ho. Hey, ho, ho. Kavanaugh has got to go. Hey, hey. people. That's right, sir. Power to them. Thank you for coming, everyone. Dance it out. Somebody put the music on.
One more. Ready? Just a little bit. Find out what you need to me. Where you going?
Well, it's up to you what you want to do, whether you want to go back, but hurricane's on its way.
And that wraps up our coverage of the rally opposing the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. If you missed any of this rally, by the way, you can see it online on our website, cspan.org. Type Kavanaugh Rally in the search bar. Quick reminder that he testifies before the Senate Judiciary Committee beginning Tuesday, September 4th. Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley expects that confirmation hearing to last 3 to 4 days. And, of course,